Okay, I'm not taking that thing down the traditional way. I'm gonna need the Chaos Emeralds. And maybe a little bit of luck.
Hi, what's up? I'm Channel Pup, the mascot for the level-headed fanboy. It's no secret that I love Sonic Frontiers. I've never denied the weaknesses of the game though, with the game feeling like an incredibly low-budget test for games to come, but just having this much space to play with Sonic's abilities, paired with the sheer spectacle of the boss fights and combat, makes Sonic Frontiers a contender for one of the strongest Sonic games to date, in my opinion. With their DLC roadmap, Sega seem more determined than ever to make Sonic Frontiers the best game it can possibly be. Now, there's certainly a separate discussion to be had about modern gaming and how much of it rides on patches and DLC, and the previous model for Sonic games, releasing unfinished products that we just have to kinda live with, isn't much better. In an ideal world, these games would just be released complete from the jump, but these are free updates, and the base game was a fun time where it counts. In Update 1, we certainly got a little more than I was initially anticipating, and certainly more than was advertised, with a selection of new features and some quality of life improvements. We got a photo mode, which I'd been wanting in a Sonic game since photo modes came into vogue, but I think enough time has passed for me to admit Sonic Frontiers photo mode is bare bones at best, incredibly restrictive at worst. Fortunately, modders have salvaged photo mode and made it into a much better experience with much more potential for great photography, but it doesn't change the fact that Sonic Frontiers' photo mode isn't great, and Sega should spruce it up a bit. And for God's sakes, fix the camera collision. I've got full videos out about the base game and Update 1, so you can watch those if you want more of my opinions on that. Now it's time to talk about Update 2, which was arguably the vaguest one advertised. We knew we were getting some sort of celebration for Sonic's birthday, an open zone challenge, and new Coco. Now, I'll be real, from the offset, this sounded like the least exciting update. Update 3 was of course going to be the big one, with a story expansion and an expanded cast of playable characters. And Update 1 had a photo mode, which, for me, personally, was very exciting, even if I was a little disappointed by it. Update 2 didn't really sound like anything substantial. Well, I'm pleased to report that once again, Sega have given us a lot more than we bargained for. So I guess we'll start with the Sonic birthday features. This update released on June 23rd, the literal day we got our first look at this update. Although it took them a few hours to make it available. I've never quite known a fictional character celebrate birthdays in the same way that Sonic does. It's not even just like the special anniversaries like 20 or 10 or whatever. The dude will turn literally 32 and then suddenly there's stripper poles everywhere. And yeah, adding birthday items everywhere is actually not too far from the truth when it comes to the Sonic birthday add-on. The Starfall Islands have been decorated to celebrate, which is honestly a cute idea, despite the hilarious optics of the fact that Sonic Frontiers is a sad game, and it's a game that takes place on island-wide graveyards where your mission is to bring peace to restless souls. This is where Sonic is celebrating his birthday. There are presents and balloons everywhere. Crates now have the Sonic Generations loading screens on them, which is a cute touch, and all of the clouds are shaped like Sonic characters and rings. The birthday decorations completely clash with the somber nature of the Starfall Islands, but they are a fun gimmick and a nice way of changing up the game's overall aesthetic. From a gameplay standpoint, it does take some getting used to though, as some of these asset swaps completely mess with the literacy of the level design. Over the course of a Sonic Frontiers playthrough, one thing we can fundamentally understand is that if we jump on a spring, we'll bounce. We can homing attack balloons. This is all telegraphed by interactive objects looking very distinctive, but also like, as Sonic fans, we know what a springboard looks like. The birthday DLC swaps those assets out. So, the springboards are now cupcakes, grind rails are now candy canes, dash rings now come in a variety of shapes, the balloons are now shaped like Sonic characters, and so it goes. It's much more difficult to get a read on the level design with birthday mode switched on, but I did find myself gradually getting used to it. The main thing though that led me to switching this feature off was just the HUD. It's hideous. There's a massive border around the screen now. All of the UI elements are bordered by these purple and pink present designs. So I figured, hey, I'll just disable the HUD in the options, no biggie, right? Nope, the background elements still remain in place even if their UI elements are shut off. In general, birthday mode is just a bit more difficult to read than the basic mode, but it is a fun feature. With birthday mode enabled, you also get a new default track in your music menu. It's a birthday mix of tracks put together by DJ Tomoyo Atani, and there are some great choices here. I wish these tracks were accessible in the regular mode, as you've got rep from Sonic Advance, Knuckles Chaotix, even Sonic Freeriders, and Sonic Runners. A lot of Sonic history, including the obscure stuff, get some representation here, making it a nice way to celebrate 32 years, even if that's not a very special birthday at all. But that's not all for the birthday features though, they're really milking this, as Sonic gets a birthday-themed outfit, which consists of a bow tie, a party hat, and some goofy glasses. Honestly, it's kinda just nice to see how Sonic would look when he's just letting loose for his birthday, and I've come to the conclusion that he and his friends are tremendously extra when it comes to celebrating birthdays. We saw Sonic and his friends dressing to the nines for Amy's birthday in The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, and for Sonic's birthday, we have this. It's not just Sonic that's dressing up for the festivities though, as Sonic's friends also have toggleable birthday attire. Heh, now they're giving Amy a birthday suit? Whose birthday is it, Sonic's or mine? Oh wait, never mind, it's just a birthday outfit, not a birthday suit. So Amy, Knuckles, and Tails all get party hats and rosettes. There's no kind of birthday-themed outfit for Big the Cat, Dr. Eggman, or Sage though. Party poopers. Nice to see you've aligned yourself with the villains, Big, you jerk. Even the Coco have toggleable party outfits. Everyone here looks ridiculous, and I love it. This was a fun way of celebrating Sonic's birthday. I'd much sooner take options like this for birthdays over bringing back Green Hill Zone for the 89,000th time, not that that stopped them with Sonic Frontiers. It would have been cool to have also maybe had some of the birthday aesthetics make their way into cyberspace, that way I can pretend I'm playing an original level. But hey, maybe they've done enough birthday stuff for Sonic now. Again, I'm super unlikely to play the game with these toggles switched on for anything other than Sonic's birthday, or maybe the tail end of my birthday when I get home and I just want to play some Sonic. Admittedly, I'm tempted to do a full game stream with the game in birthday mode, plus some of the game's new features. Let me know if that's something you guys would like. We can certainly arrange it. So then we have the new Coco. Dotted around the islands are rare Coco. These are giant Coco, which may be wearing crowns or hats or just wielding Excalibur for some reason, which was actually a really nice touch. Again, these kinds of little granular nods to more obscure Sonic stuff are a great way of doing birthdays in a post-Generations world. We've kind of already done the returning level stuff. These Coco are easy to find, they can be found on the map, but they're difficult to reach as the player needs to do some challenging platforming in order to reach them. Which means that the Starfall Islands have been kitted out with new platforming challenges. Once again, it's platforms and rails floating above the terrain, but still, it's giving you more to discover and play, which is only a good thing. As mentioned though, some of these can be really difficult, a standout being the floating tower in Kronos Island, full of indoor sections that you have to navigate your way around as you unlock access to more of the tower, followed by a final leap of faith to reach the very top, which was incredibly difficult. It's very dependent on momentum. See, For my Sonic, I like to have a nice gradual build, so I set my bottom boost speed as low as possible and my acceleration nice and high. But I don't have a great deal of runway here, so something I did to bypass this was use the sliders to turn up my base boost speed, and voila, I made it. Don't know how deliberate this was, but it did get me to experiment a bit more with the ability sliders in order to beat certain challenges. I gotta wonder if it would be possible to do this on my usual settings. Well, I know it would anyway once I unlock a certain ability. There's a few ways to tackle it, that's for sure, but we'll get there in a bit. There are also challenges like this one here, where you cling to the sides of these climbable walls and have to carefully time your every move in order to not get thrown off by the spiked balls. These platforming challenges reward the player for thinking outside the box and experimenting with Sonic's abilities, and part of the fun can just be seeing where those challenges are and figuring out how to reach that area. It's given these open zone platforming sections a new sense of stakes, the trial and error that comes with classic Sonic platforming. It's all front and center here, and I'd absolutely welcome more like this. So once you get these rare Coco, you can bring them to the Elder Coco and exchange them for boost meter extensions, which is a feature I'm surprised wasn't in the base game. That being said, I'd consider this a luxury more than anything else, as Sonic's boost meter was never exactly in major need of any upgrades, and I guess nor would you want it to be. The boost is integral to Sonic's speed in this game, hence why it's as generous as it was and fills up as easily. Not to mention being able to summon an infinite boost by using the Psy loop and making an infinity sign. These aren't exactly necessary power-ups, but at the same time, I guess, why would you want them to be? It's just a little reward for collecting rare Coco, and if you collect them all, you unlock a rare cosmetic item. You can have Sonic running around in a crown, which is kinda cool, I guess, but again, I'm pretty unlikely to wear it in casual play. I'll be completely honest though, when I saw new Coco being touted as a main event for Update 2, I couldn't have been less excited. The idea that some of the Coco just looked different, yay. And then we had the Springtime Coco in Update 1, which was just a cosmetic to turn them into Easter eggs? I mean, it wasn't advertised, so it was nice to have a little extra, but new Coco didn't sound very exciting, and I couldn't have been more wrong about this, as it's given us more challenges to do around these open zones with new geometry, so some actual new gameplay content. Then we come to even more open zone challenges, namely the action chains, and these are a lot of fun. New time challenges in the open zone that are entirely based around speed and stunts. Basically, the more cool stuff you do within a set time, be it boosting, climbing, air tricks, the more points you'll gain in your ranking meter. But you can't beat these by just aimlessly doing tricks and stunts. You also need to collect these golden orbs which boost your score multiplier. Now there are 10 of these dotted around each island. The locations don't make a huge degree of difference, as it's pretty much up to you where you decide to go, no specific route. But put it this way, if you wanted Sonic games to have more of a skate park philosophy, these action chains are kind of an answer to that. It's not massively clear what it is you have to do with these at first, but once you get the hang of it, they are very rewarding. And speaking of unclear and rewarding, also advertised for this update was the Spin Dash, which was nowhere to be found. I remember everyone on Twitter just being incredibly confused by the absence of this move after it being advertised. A lot of folks thought you needed to collect the rare Coco, which I guess would make sense. Elder Coco grants you boost expansion, so maybe at the end of that, he'd grant you a Spin Dash, but no. The way to unlock the Spin Dash is to complete all of the action chain challenges. So back to those. They're a lot of fun, but they are balls to the walls difficult. It's all about balancing your time spent increasing your score multiplier and your time performing stunts, and it can be very difficult to strike that balance. Naturally, you might be a little impatient to unlock the Spin Dash, but don't fret, there's a very fast and easy way to do so. Look, I'm not exactly proud of it, but I wanted that Spin Dash and figured I could then use that to ace these challenges on hard mode. Even then, not too easy, But on easy mode, these challenges are a slam dunk and the spin dash can be unlocked in around an hour and a half. So, what's interesting here is that the spin dash isn't so much a new ability to add to Sonic's skill set, so much as it is a new set of new abilities that can be achieved via spin dashing. So, you can do it the old-fashioned way, crouch down, rev it up, and it feels really good. However, you can then hold down the left trigger to continue dashing and sustain that speed. Of course, there is a limit on this as it serves as kind of a secondary boost, but there are a few differences between this and the boost. For one, the spin dash immediately shoots you off at top speed, whereas boosting, at least if you have a setup like mine, has a bit more of a gradual build-up. The spin dash also has significantly less of a speed cap, as well as having its own offensive capabilities, so yes, it can be used in combat. The spin dash can also be used to drift when used with the slide. Just slide in any direction, and the spin dash can be used to change that direction abruptly, sending you off on your merry way. If you try to use the spin dash while idle without revving it up, Sonic will curl into the fetal position and just roll dependent on the terrain. The spin dash may be faster, it may have offensive capabilities as well as being more versatile than the boost. However, it doesn't render the boost redundant by any means, which I was a little worried about. The spin dash is more unwieldy as it can grant you a significant degree of airtime when dashing off of hills, whereas with the boost, it's far more controlled as Sonic kind of magnetizes to the ground a lot more. The spin dash doesn't work on rails like the boost does either, and the boost still offers the air dash, which the spin dash does not. What's interesting with this is that the spin dash is mapped to the left trigger, while the boost is mapped to the right. And so, when you're doing fast-paced platforming, you're constantly switching between the left trigger and the right trigger. It reminds me of switching gears in a car, unless you're one of those pussies that drives an automatic. When it comes to spin dash abuse, Chaos Island is definitely a favorite, as you can use it to fling off the hills and mountains, weaving through the valleys as though you're a swinging pendulum. And with the spin dash's help, I was able to reach the top of the Death Egg robot. And best of all, the spin dash is available in cyberspace. Now, cyberspace. It is disappointing to see that Sonic's turning circle still hasn't been fixed, when in cyberspace making tight turns is incredibly difficult. However, with great timing, you can pull off a spin dash drift to make those tight turns. But it is really difficult. That being said, spin dash usage in cyberspace will put an asterisk next to your score, so if you want to score with no qualifiers, you'll still have to avoid using the spin dash or any speedrun tech. The spin dash is, in a literal sense, a game changer, and with how powerful it is, I can see why they kept this one walled off behind completion of the action chains. It's arguably the most powerful move Sonic has in his arsenal, and it requires a great deal of control and skill to pull off. That being said, given that the spin dash can be charged in mid-air, it does beg the question of if the drop dash is now completely redundant, and kinda sorta not quite. The spin dash can now do what the drop dash does, rev in the air, accelerate on the ground. The difference is that the spin dash is more powerful and more controlled. However, when it comes to charging the spin dash in the air, all forward momentum comes to an abrupt stop as soon as you charge the spin dash in mid-air, while the drop dash can maintain that forward in-air momentum. The drop dash is also able to climb the ice on Chaos Island, which the spin dash can't. Not sure if that was deliberate or not. That's not all for changes to Sonic's controls though, as there are some new control options. In the base game, Sonic would auto-brake. No matter how fast you're going, if you let go of the boost button or analog stick, Sonic will immediately stop on a dime. In Update 2, a slider has been added to determine your deacceleration speed, so Sonic no longer automatically stops on a dime, and his momentum reduces gradually, far more akin to the classic Sonic games. It can make some of the more intricate platforming sections a little more difficult than they were before, and side-looping is a little tougher to pull off now, but I honestly don't mind this. It's a new learning curve, and using the stomp or abruptly pulling back on the analog stick can cut your speed in an effective way still. Jumping has also seen some tweaks, as there are now options to maintain your momentum while jumping, and even continue your boost state while jumping. These are excellent options, as Once again, you can really earn a great deal of airtime and achieve a better flow state now. This also affects the drop dash, as you can stay in that rolling state for significantly longer thanks to the lower deceleration speed. In short, with the right settings, Sonic can now be brought far more in line with his classic, more momentum-inclined counterpart, controlling less like a car and more like a marble. You still need to be boosting in order to really achieve any kind of momentum in this game, but again, that's fine by me, as it means we still have a more controlled jogging speed available for tighter platforming segments. These settings also carry over into cyberspace, so it really is just everything but the turning, huh? I really don't understand that, but because of these options, cyberspace is a greatly improved experience, even if still not perfect. And 2D cyberspace stages are no longer painfully boring because this more momentum-inclined Sonic is just more fun to play in a 2D space than the more frictionized Sonic is. But Sega, don't take that as an endorsement to put more 2D stages in 3D games. I don't want them. Keep making games like Sonic Superstars and just let modern Sonic be strictly 3D. What we have here, though, is almost the perfect Sonic control scheme. There's quite a bit that the player can do to achieve a more classic Sonic feel, albeit a bit more powerful as modern Sonic games are more spectacle-driven. But there's still just one little thing that is important to me that I would like to see fixed. Even with all of the improvements made to Sonic's controls and physics, you still only need to be moving at your bottom speed to make it up a sharp incline or around a loop, which still defeats the purpose of the inclines and loops. Of course, you'd have to go out of your way to do this, but that doesn't change the fact that this is an oversight with a lack of polish. As far as Sonic's controls go though, I'd say that Sonic Frontiers is now neck and neck with Sonic Adventure as far as the perfect Sonic controls go. I do think there is some fat that can be trimmed off for future games. You could maybe reduce just how long you can stay in a spin dashing state. Make that spin dash a bit more momentum dependent rather than depending on the boost meter. The drop dash could easily be merged into the spin dash's controls, and I think we can probably afford to nix the high bottom speed options for the boost, considering the spin dash can grant you that instant top speed now. Let these two things be different. That said, maybe that's why we have these sliders. Everyone has different ideas for how Sonic should play. But if you want my recommendation, set bottom run speed to lowest, set the bottom boost speed to lowest, top boosting speed to the highest, acceleration to the highest, deacceleration to the lowest, and have the jump carry momentum as well as the boost. Then you've got more distinction between the boost and spin dash, but you've also got yourself a momentum Sonic, and it feels wonderful. Another new feature that wasn't advertised is New Game Plus, which I highly recommend starting after you've unlocked the spin dash. I mean, hey, best way to start New Game Plus is to do it after you've basically unlocked all the different abilities and power levels, although I will say this, I rarely recommend maxing out Sonic's attack power because it just makes the game really easy. It's too late for me, but if you have a chance, maybe avoid maxing out your attack powers. There's also a couple of new quality of life improvements as well. You can switch off the audio filter when boosting in cyberspace, meaning that you can better listen to those cyberspace tracks, which is only a good thing. And you can also disable the cinematic camera on the combat. And it can look quite good, but it ruins those signature parry moves against the Titans, so I think I'm gonna leave the cinematic camera on. Sonic Frontiers is already one of my all-time favorite Sonic games, securing itself a spot in the ranks of Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Unleashed. But there's really not a lot that needs to be done for Sonic Frontiers to possibly even exceed those two games now. The main thing I feel like it needs now is a really good finale. Amp up that final island, make the Supreme Titan fight more engaging, make the end boss not just a basic space shooter, something a bit more Sonic-y. The big problem with Sonic Frontiers now, aside from underwhelming art direction and over-reliance on existing stage themes, is that the game just kind of fizzles out. Fix that up and then boom, you've got not just a great game by Sonic standards, but just a damn fine gaming experience. As it turns out, we're getting exactly that, as director Morio Kishimoto has said on Twitter that the entirety of Orenos Island will be getting a revamp to be more engaging and less repetitive. The Supreme Titan and end fights will also be getting reworked, possibly with a whole new final phase for the end fight. I do have a couple of suggestions for Orenos Island. I used Photoshop Beta's AI feature to whip out how I'd like Orenos Island to look. This could be the first island that Eggman touched down on, so it's full of his factories and workshops, got that industrialization. I do understand though that a part of Orenos Island's design falls down to it being peaceful and tranquil. It subverts that final stage trope of being really chaotic and mechanical, but instead somewhere vacated by the ravages of battle and the tranquility representing that life still goes on even after a civilization was wiped out. Maybe over the course of the run you could clear it out, restore peace to the island. I understand that's super unrealistic though, just a very ambitious idea. Really, all I want is something to better differentiate it from Kronos Island. We've got 5 different islands, 3 of them are grass themed. There are some great mods which give it an autumnal aesthetic or even a snowy aesthetic by Pupsy and Nano respectively. These are essentially palette swaps, but it goes a long way to offer some more much needed visual variety. All the same, if they want to keep it grass themed, I can roll with that. I just think, yeah, we need some more to do on this island. We don't get a pre-Supersonic Titan fight, and all we can really do here is collect memory tokens and fight. But it is getting revamped at least, and I'm looking forward to seeing what gets done and how much gets done. I really just think we need a new phase for the end. Closing Sonic Frontiers, a game all about speed and spectacle, out with a space shooter just isn't it. This is all I need at this point, a better finale. If they can pull this off, Sonic Frontiers has the potential to finally beat Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Adventure 2 as my #1 best Sonic game of all time. Of all time so far. But that's still not all we're getting. We're getting additional story content which I suspect will fold into the Orenos Island expansion, as well as a roster of new playable characters consisting of Amy, Knuckles, and Tails. If they want to go above and beyond and just really perfect this thing, maybe put some tourists on the islands for me to talk to, perhaps with their own little collectathon side missions. Maybe they lost their bags and I can go out and collect bags for them around the islands. It would also be great if we could add some vertical structures to the floating rails so they're no longer just floating, or maybe have a slight hovering animation, and maybe we could fix the pop-in on the non-Switch versions, but these are all just polishing up jobs. Again, probably a little unrealistic. Sonic Frontiers though, it was already a really solid game on release. I had a lot of fun with it. It was a consistently enjoyable time. These first 2 updates have really expanded upon that, giving us a more versatile Sonic with more things to do on these islands, which is fantastic. We can talk until the cows come home about how it does represent a sorry state of the gaming industry when a Sonic game is leaning this much into post-release content, making changes that impact something so fundamental as the control scheme. Yeah, it's a valid conversation. At the same time though, I'm really happy to see Sega making Sonic Frontiers the best that it can possibly be. So I am incredibly excited for the future of this game and what's coming up after. This all gives me a lot of confidence for the future of Sonic. But now over to you guys. What do you guys think? Do you like this new update? Do you like Sonic Frontiers? Let's discuss it. Did you like this video? Comment below, discuss, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, be sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button. And if you want your name in the credits of these videos, that can be arranged for as little as $1 a month over on Patreon, link in the description below. An extra special shout out goes to the very generous patrons in the $10 or above tier. Their names are as follows: Sharif, Dare Denny, Hale Bennett, That Jordo, Ken K, Legendary Ray Ray, Dr. SP here. Sonic 1 was released on the solstice, so Sonic's birthday is literally the door into summer. Sergio, Saurus the Skeptic, Did you know the skin on your elbow is called a weenus? Continuing on, we've now got the patrons in the $5 or above tier, who are Yakko the Volcanic Muto, SSS06, Dazzle Fizzle, and Council of Geeks. Thanks again, generous patrons. I can't thank you enough, but as for the people I can thank enough, but I'll thank anyway, thank you guys at home for watching, and be sure to have a smashing day. Peace!